Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled at the base of a towering mountain, there lived a young man. This young man was notorious throughout the village for his indolence. His days were typically spent in the comforting shade of a tree, indulging in long naps and daydreams, while the rest of the villagers worked tirelessly in the fields and workshops, their hands and brows stained with the sweat of their labor. One day, a wise old monk, known for his profound wisdom and spiritual insight, made his way to the village. Upon observing the young man's laziness, he decided to approach him. "My son," the monk began, his voice filled with a calm authority, "I have a task for you." He then proceeded to outline his request. "I want you to climb to the very top of that towering mountain and bring back a single feather from the highest peak." The young man, upon hearing this, looked up at the daunting mountain and scoffed. "That's impossible," he retorted dismissively. "I'm far too lazy to undertake such a strenuous journey." The monk, however, responded with a knowing smile. "Ah, but you see, the feather I seek is not on the mountain itself. It is hidden on the other side of the mountain, in a secluded cave that can only be reached by climbing to the summit and descending the other side." The young man was intrigued. He had never heard of this elusive feather, and the thought of such a unique and challenging task sparked his curiosity. And so, after some contemplation, he decided to take up the monk's challenge. The climb was long and arduous, and the young man soon found himself panting heavily, his body drenched in sweat. But as he climbed higher and higher, he began to feel a sense of exhilaration and excitement that he had never experienced before. The sight of the world below, the wind rushing past him, and the sheer thrill of the climb filled him with a sense of adventure. When he finally reached the summit, he was exhausted but elated. He looked out at the breathtaking view before him and felt a sense of accomplishment that he had never experienced before. But the real challenge was yet to come. The young man had to descend the other side of the mountain and find the cave where the feather was said to be located. The descent was even more treacherous than the climb, and the young man stumbled and fell many times. But he persevered, driven by the promise of the feather that lay ahead. When he finally reached the cave, he saw the feather lying there, gleaming in the faint light that filtered in from the entrance. He picked up the feather and marveled at its beauty. But then he realized that he had a problem. How was he going to get back up the mountain and return the feather to the monk? For a moment, the young man considered giving up. But then he remembered the sense of accomplishment and pride that he had felt when he had reached the summit. He knew that he had the strength and determination to do it again. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose, he climbed back up the mountain, his muscles aching and his lungs burning. But he did not give up. He pushed himself to keep going, driven by the knowledge that he had overcome his own laziness and accomplished something truly remarkable. When he finally reached the monk and presented him with the feather, the monk smiled and said, "Well done, my son. You have learned an important lesson today. Laziness is not something to be accepted or tolerated. It is a challenge to be overcome, a hurdle to be leaped over." The young man nodded, understanding the wisdom of the monk's words. He realized that he had always been capable of great things, but that his laziness had held him back. Now he knew that he had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle that lay in his path. The lesson of the monk's challenge is that laziness is not something that should be accepted or tolerated. It is a challenge that must be overcome, a hurdle that must be leaped over. When we push ourselves to achieve our goals, even when they seem impossible, we discover a strength and resilience within ourselves that we never knew existed. To overcome laziness, we must challenge ourselves and set ambitious goals, no matter how difficult they may seem. We must push ourselves beyond our limits and persevere, even when we face setbacks and obstacles. We must also cultivate discipline and consistency in our daily habits and routines. By setting a schedule and sticking to it, we can build good habits that help us to stay focused and productive even when we don't feel like it. Another important aspect of overcoming laziness is to cultivate a growth mindset. This means viewing challenges and failures as opportunities for growth and learning, rather than as reasons to give up. By adopting a growth mindset, we can reframe our thinking about failure and use it as a catalyst for improvement and progress. Ultimately, overcoming laziness requires a willingness to step out of our comfort zone and embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.